Okay, well, thank you all for coming. As you know, we've got an important case to talk to you about today. We've just made an arrest, and I think you've all been to arraignments here, so you already know something about this matter. We've brought some people together to hopefully answer some of your questions today. We'll have a couple comments to make first, and then we'll have time to take your questions. Today we have with us Detective John Vandervalk from the Special Victims Unit here at APD. He's the case officer, and he's going to describe a little bit to you about the case. We have Superintendent Ed Graff from the Anchorage School District, and Air Force Major Angela Webb from JBEAR. She's the PIO out there, and so we have these folks available to help explain what's going on today and hopefully answer some of your questions. So I'll start by introducing John Vandervalk and asking him to come up and tell you a little bit about the case. John.
Thanks. Thank you, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Detective Vandervalk with the Anchorage Police Department Special Victims Unit. I am here to brief you a little bit about a recent arrest in a case that we've worked on here for the last couple of months. This is concerning a sexual abuse of a minor investigation with Mr. David Schwantes as the suspect. Mr. David Schwantes was a school teacher for the Anchorage School District from 1968 to 1993 as a full-time teacher, then continued in a substitute capacity and also other educational duties all the way through 2000 after he retired from full-time service. He also previously taught around Alaska, in southeast Alaska and in Bush, Alaska for a couple of years prior to coming to the Anchorage School District. During his tenure with the Anchorage School District, he taught at Mount Spur Elementary out on Elmendorf Air Force Base, which is now JBEAR. And that's where this event started. This fall, we were appraised of a sexual abuse situation that occurred from 1990 through 1997 with Mr. Schwantes as the suspect. Subsequently, the investigation substantiated the reported claims of the victim, and Mr. Schwantes has been arrested for 7 counts of sexual abuse of a minor. Within that investigation, there were also details that came out that indicated Mr. Schwantes may have victimized other children throughout the years. That cannot be confirmed at this time, and that's one of the things we want to have from the news media is the widest possible dissemination of this story, because of the fact that everybody at JBEAR was transient during those 20 to 30 years, and they're scattered all over the globe now. We want to get that word out as wide as possible to everyone. So what we're asking for the viewers is to spread that word. Even if you weren't affected, but you know somebody who attended school out there, to go ahead and contact those people and let them know about this story. And those people can then contact the Anchorage Police Department if they have any details that they feel would be pertinent to the investigation. There may be events that they saw that they thought were suspicious that are pertinent to the investigation, even though they weren't a victim. We want to hear about that also. We also want to put the word out there, if you forget to call the Anchorage Police Department, if you forget to call everything else, if you're a military dependent, military retiree, you can report this through the Veterans Administration. You can report it through the sexual assault reporting places on all the military installations worldwide. They'll take care of getting those that bit of information to us. And also local police departments nationwide have procedures to follow, and they will get us that information also. And failing all of that, visit the Anchorage Police Department website. You'll find some information on that. I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and people want to know more details about this investigation and what the nitty-gritty details are. We can't release that at this time. That's to preserve any future investigative options for other victims that may come forward. So bear with us, but we can't give you those details at this point in time. At this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Graff of the Anchorage School District, and I also want to say on his introduction that the Anchorage School District has been fantastic in their support and their aid and assistance in the investigation.
Thank you. First, I'd like to applaud the victim for coming forward and sharing the reports of what occurred to him many years ago. The safety of our students is an absolute priority in the Anchorage School District. I also want to encourage the community to make sure they contact the Anchorage Police Department if they have any information related to this investigation, or they have any possible ideas about who might have been affected by this situation. So greatly appreciate you getting that word out, and again, we want to make sure that we're supporting our students first and foremost. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for a few questions now. We'll rotate up and to the podium as, depending on what your questions are, as we figure out who's the best speaker to answer them.
What made the victim come now? Why now and not before? Did he say, the victim? Did he say why?
John, why don't you take a run at that one? I think we know. I'm not sure how much we're supposed to say at this point.
Many times in life, realize I've been doing this for a long time, sex crimes investigations. Many times in life, there are triggering events that bring these things forward, and in this case it was one of those things for this particular person. And it came into the issue of trust and what to do with now their children and child care situations. And that's what triggered them and brought this case forward for us. You can imagine what it'd be like if you had endured something like this and then had to endure the thought of putting your own child into a potential situation. And that fear was too great, and when we finally learned of this event, we're able to do something about it.
Can you talk any more about why you believe there may or may not be other victims in this case? Can you give us a little more information?
I can't share that at this time, other than based on my training and experience and the details buried within this case. It's indicative that there are potentially other victims out there.
Would you use the word likely, or how would you?
In my world, I would use the term likely. However, whether or not people want to come forward after this many years, realize everybody and every victim deals with a situation in their own way. Some people may have put it behind them, and it may be too difficult to deal with, and they may not want to come forward anymore. That's their own particular choice, and what we want to have come out of this is the best possible outcome for the victim. A criminal charge or complaint or court proceeding, any of that against a suspect is not the most important thing. The most important thing is the health and welfare and their future life for all the victims out there. And we also, if any of them come forward, we also have agencies in place to help them through all of that also.
You talked just a little more, you talked about victims in the past, 90s or whatever, when he was still teaching at Mount Spur, but he was an ASD employee, or at least working with children in the district up to 2000. Do you have any reason to suspect this behavior might have been continuing as late as that?
I can't go into those details right now.
Is this
Sorry.
the same victim that the John Doe civil case against the school district?
Yes, there is a civil case that's been filed against the school district. And this is the same victim.
Can we, a little bit more about what kind of background checks might have been? I know this is probably for your time, but were being done on teachers in the mid-60s, and anything at all on his record or red flags beyond that time?
Well, for present day stuff, that's the best question referred to Superintendent Graff, but I can tell you in this particular case, there's no indications that I've been able to find so far in the investigation that would have caused anybody to have any concerns back in the day.
Regarding the level of scrutiny we place on our employees when they're hired in the Anchorage School District, we have all of our employees going through a fingerprint background check. We do provide training on adult-student boundaries. They are mandatory reporters, so anytime they see abuse or potential abuse, neglect, or suspect of that, they're required to report that. If they're a non-certificated employee, they're required to report it to their supervisor. If they are a teacher or a certificated employee, they're required to report that to OCS directly. We provide that training annually, both for our teachers and for our non-certificated employees as well.
So those are the current policies, but my question was, what was in place in 1968?
Yeah,
Any idea?
I don't have an idea what was the practice in 1968.
And in the lawsuit, the victim said that the school district knew about the abuse or should have known about the abuse. Have things changed since that period of time in the 90s when that was going on now?
I don't have the specific details of that lawsuit, so I can't comment on that.
How about school-wide policy? Has that changed
Since
since that time?
the 1990s?
Yes.
I know that in the last several years, we've adopted a curriculum that is related to personal safety, and in their kindergarten through 6th grades, that curriculum is implemented within the first 2 months of school. It's a required presentation that our teachers give, our health teachers, and it's followed up by classroom teachers. And so we are mandatory reporters. We have conversations with students all the time about, reporting things that are of concern and making sure they feel comfortable passing on that information to the proper authorities, whether it's their parents or teachers or anyone else who they feel like they need to share that information with.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question.
I can give you another one. I'm just curious about the, some of the problems that might be associated with tracking these people down. Maybe we can talk a little bit about on base that, families are rotating through pretty quickly, and some of these potential victims may, have many, many thousands of miles, if not years behind them since they were at Mount Spur.
Sure, I think Major Webb is the one for that.
So just as mentioned, we are in full cooperation with APD and ASD, and so our Air Force Office of Special Investigations is working with both agencies in making sure that we find around that time frame of the students that were there, and we do move quite often, every few years, and so once we have more information and more evidence is coming forward, our investigators are helping with finding those alleged potential victims. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry.
I think I know what you're doing. So could you kind of explain how it might be different for the school, this school, as opposed to a school in Anchorage where the students live in the same neighborhood their whole growing up? So why might it be more difficult at Mount Spur to find victims?
I don't think, I can't really speculate to how it will be different. It's all in the school district. I know that military students rotate every few years, and so depending on if their family either retired here or maybe they moved on, because they'll have a permanent change of station every few years, that they will be kind of scattered all throughout various Air Force bases. And that's why Air Force Office of Special Investigations, OSI, is working with the OSI agencies across the installation that may have potential victims.
Okay, well, thank you very much.